Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris and welcome to an exciting LEGO Ninjago news video. So just recently, all of the official high-res images for Ninjago 2022's summer wave of sets have been officially revealed by LEGO. Centered around the climactic conclusion to this era of Ninjago in the TV show's Ninjago Crystallized season, these sets are probably some of the most interesting and exciting we've ever gotten from Ninjago in years, and I cannot wait to take a look at them all. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into all of these set images, starting from the smallest and going all the way up to the largest. And I counted 30 exclusive special minifigures in this wave, so oh boy, there's a lot to get into.
Alright, so for this video we're going to do something a little bit different than normal and actually start off by talking about the minifigures. And the reason I'm doing this is because there are just so many different and unique figures. I think these are the most unique figures we've ever gotten for any Ninjago wave. There's a whopping 30 different minifigures scattered across the sets that are completely unique, which is absolutely fascinating. I totally would not have expected just the sheer amount of different figures, and oh man, there is a lot to get into. So we're going to start with the ninja team first and then go on to the villain side of things, and be warned, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this. You probably could expect that already, but the minifigures themselves and the characters included will probably be massive spoilers for the season itself, so if you want to go into Ninjago Crystallized unspoiled, if you've somehow managed to do that already, then just go ahead and don't watch this video, because the sets will spoil a ton of stuff. But without further ado, let's just jump right into what we're getting. First of all, the four remaining kind of standard ninja of Kai, Cole, Jay, and Zane are getting these standard outfits with gunmetal gray armor. These appear to be basically the standard ninja outfits or template of the outfits for the season. They were showcased in the recent trailer that just came out a couple of days ago, and really, these are just the most vanilla costumes that you would expect for this wave. One thing I like is that each of the outfits is pretty uniform. You can see that they actually have the similar types of patterning and straps across the outfits that truly make them feel like a cohesive team. Now, surprisingly enough, Lloyd does not get one of these outfits. Despite featuring one in the trailer, he is nowhere to be found in one of these outfits in the sets. Now that being said, there actually is a different version of Lloyd that is coming out. It is basically a very similar design to these, except he has a gold pauldron, and I can imagine that this is kind of meant to be an in-between between these outfits as well as the next outfits that we're about to see. Whereas Lloyd just has this golden pauldron as well as the similar torso print as these earlier initial outfits, whereas he seems to have the same exact torso in the trailer but just with gunmetal armor. So I guess if you wanted to recreate the full ninja team in this style of outfit, you could easily just swap out the pauldron. But then moving on from this golden armored Lloyd, we actually have a set of golden armored ninja. And surprisingly enough, again, as I mentioned, the previous Lloyd is kind of an in-between, because the ninja that get these full golden suits are just the ones that we looked at previously with the core 4 original team, Kai, Zane, Cole, and Jay. What's interesting is that they are featuring pretty much the same exact outfits, but just with golden armoring detailed on top of them. If you look closely, the underlying torso patterns are pretty much the same, but just with different overlays, which is really interesting, and almost feels like they've been given an upgrade, but by who, we're not really sure. The masks are now dual molded in gold and their primary elemental color. They also have golden arms as well as some nice detailing on the chest. I really especially like Zane's because he has a bit of his exposed power core and reactor there just to signify his robotic aspect, which is really neat, but it's somewhat covered up with golden armor as well. Just a really cool design in general. And again, the last time that we got split costumes for the ninja was actually in the Tournament of Elements wave, so it really shows that LEGO is giving this wave their all and giving a massive budget for minifigures if we're getting different variants of ninja costumes in just one wave. But that's not all, because besides these standard outfits and the golden outfits, we're also getting another third version of the ninja outfits in the form of these incredibly detailed, beautifully molded dragon armor ninja. Now, I do not know the significance of these in story, of course, whatsoever. I probably can imagine that these would be a massive spoiler plot point where the ninjas somehow merge with the dragon power, but as you can see, each of the 4 core ninja, starting with Zane, Cole, Jay, and Kai, and do note, excuse the confidential watermark, LEGO officially posted these images with confidential watermarks, so I did not leak anything. LEGO actually has these up live on their instructions page right now, so that's what the watermark's there for. But as you can see, each of the 4 core ninja are getting these beautifully detailed dragon armor, and oh man, I think these are probably the best powered up versions of the ninja we have ever gotten to date. I really love and am impressed by the amount of detail that went into these, including transparent limbs for both the arms and the legs for all 4 of the ninja. Kai gets transparent red, Jay has transparent yellow, Cole with transparent orange, and Zane with transparent light blue. It looks absolutely stunning, and of course they are reusing the core dragon wings, which looks absolutely great on the minifigures themselves. Kind of feels reminiscent of the Chima armor that we got during the final waves of Chima, or even something like the bionicle creature forms that we got during the last wave of G2. LEGO seems to tend to really like putting large oversized wings on their main characters, but hey, it looks really good here, and all those transparent pieces are incredibly useful. It is just so cool that LEGO is doing this. But that's not all, because on the hero side, not only did we get 4 standard suits, 5 golden suits, 4 dragon suits, but we also are getting a very interesting version of Lloyd, seemingly tapping into his Oni powers by wearing an Oni-style mask. Now this is really fascinating and has a lot of ramifications for exactly what's going to be happening in the TV show. Now what's really interesting is that one of these set images showcases this Oni form of Lloyd sitting on an evil looking throne of the golden weapons. No idea what's going on there. I'm a little worried for Lloyd, but this is very exciting, and it is an absolutely beautifully done minifigure. It is pearl gold from top to bottom. I love the translation of the features of the Mask of Vengeance onto Lloyd's face. I think it looks really cool. And they actually introduced a brand new helmet piece that fits a visor on it to specifically fit with the Oni mask. Lloyd is not the only character using this helmet. It actually pops up in 4 other characters this season, so they are getting a lot of use out of this brand new mold, but it looks absolutely fantastic. I have, again, no idea what the story relevance of this is, but this is truly probably one of the most ultimate powered up versions of Lloyd we have ever gotten. And even beyond that, there are still more heroes on the ninja team side. First of all, for one of the largest sets of the wave, we get a ton of exclusive minifigures. We get little Nelson in a ninja-like outfit. What's sort of interesting is that in the TV show, Nelson has actually grown up and now uses the mid-legs piece. This design does not seem to have been translated to the actual sets because he still uses his short legs. Personally, I would have preferred to see a little bit more of a grown-up Nelson just to signify that time has passed, especially like the way he has it in the TV show, but this is still a really nice minifigure featuring a recolor of the dual molded LEGO hidden side hood component. It's just a fun minifigure to get in general. Next up, we have Garmadon in an Oni form. This is the first time Garmadon has reappeared in both the TV show and the sets since the March of the Oni season, season 10. Now, Garmadon has been getting a solo comic, so maybe it will tie into his appearance here, because surprisingly, he does not feature his normal 4 arms. Instead, he just has 2 plus an Oni mask. If I had to guess, this was to distinguish him from the main villain of the wave, who also features an Oni-like mask but has 4 arms. Maybe they figured that people would get a little bit confused with Garmadon fighting on the side of good, but I think it does make sense. Maybe he goes through some character arc where he loses the extra arms, but I think this is a really cool version of Garmadon, and the Oni mask looks a lot better than his Oni form at the end of season 10. Now, again, another surprise here. We seem to be getting Nia in a completely standard human form, wearing the Samurai X armor. Now, this is really interesting because, of course, if you've seen the latest season of Ninjago, Nia no longer exists in a human form. She became one with the sea and essentially became a water goddess, and essentially lost all of the aspects of her personality, and didn't retain anything of what made her unique. Now, apparently something is going to go down in the season to cause her to revert back to human form, that is, unless these sets are really just throwing this in as a red herring. Now, if I had to guess, with the amount of Vengestone about, perhaps what could have happened is that her water elemental power was completely sucked away, all elemental powers were neutered in Ninjago, and she essentially just returned to a standard human form, which is why she's back in the Samurai X outfit. It's just a guess though. I really don't wish that this stays, because I did love the concept of Nia as a powerful water elemental who's just kind of on the sidelines. I really wish that Ninjago would have more concrete stakes like that, but I do also really like this minifigure as well. It's a really well done version of Samurai X blending different color schemes, so I definitely do appreciate it, especially with that brand new helmet mold. Now, one of the final figures on the Heroes team is Master Wu in his Dragon Master armor, which has not been seen since 2018 for the Dragon Hunters wave. Now, it's really interesting because it seems that he is picking up the Dragon armor again, which I think is such a cool concept. I wish it was seen more past that season, and it's really cool that he is choosing to wear it once again to go into battle. Now there is one final minifigure on the Allies of the Ninja Wave, and that is Skylar, returning again for the first time in minifigure form since the 2018 wave. We get an all-new version of Skylar who is in a similar outfit to the one that she appeared in during that particular season, but with a slightly different updated detailing as well as face paint on her face. Now, what I find really interesting about this is that the face paint actually mirrors one of the replacement ninja that we actually saw in the trailer for Ninjago Crystallized. Now, who knows what sort of role she'll be playing in the season, but she also has a completely different outfit in the trailer as well, so not really sure what's going on there, but this is just a really cool figure to get in general, and I'm very happy to see the traditional ZX shoulder mold returning for Skylar as well, especially as we haven't seen that mold in quite a long time. But moving on from the heroes, it's now time to take a look at the villains. And oh man, there are a lot of villains. So first off, we have the aforementioned Crystal King. We don't really know anything about him other than he's presumably the Vengestone buyer. He wields transparent purple swords or transparent pink swords depending on the lighting there, which is really cool to get. I think those would work absolutely fantastically for Garmadon's weapons as well, but as you can see here, the Crystal King's design is actually somewhat reminiscent of the Overlord. Now, a lot of rumors have been pointing towards this being the return of the Overlord. Now, this has obviously not been confirmed, but you can obviously see there's a lot of similarities in the purple, black, and gold color scheme, and what's most striking is that if you look at the other version of the Crystal King with 2 arms instead of 4 arms, you'll notice the torso print is very, very similar to the older Overlord golden ribcage, and he has the Overlord symbol on his chest. Now, if that's not an indicator, I don't know what is, but this is a very, very exciting figure to get in general. It features a brand new mold for an Oni-like mask, except it has a bit more of a dragon styling. And again, he is using that helmet piece with visor attachment that's specifically been made to fit Oni masks and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that, and I wonder what head he has on underneath, if he has one at all, or maybe it's just black. Accompanying the Crystal King are 3 different variants of minions. You can see that these were just simply called the Vengestone Guard. They seem to be a cross between an Oni and a dragon, which is really interesting, featuring fully transparent limbs in the transparent pink and purple coloring. They have new armor pieces as well for the crystalline armor, and different torso prints to represent different types of the villains. Now, even beyond these fantastically detailed minifigures, which honestly, looking at recent Ninjago, probably would have been all we would have gotten from a villain faction. No, that's not all, because we have a ton of returning villains serving the Overlord and apparently being corrupted and possessed by Vengestone. These set descriptions mention the ninja fighting off the villains from transforming everyone into Vengestone-controlled zombies, and if I had to imagine, that's what's happening with the villains here. So first off, we have Pythor right here, a returning character from one of the first waves of Ninjago. He has a new purple color scheme and purple eyes. Funnily enough, he also has purple arms, which is something that's been missing from the purple versions of Pythor in the years past, except this is the white version, so I do find that particularly funny. Next up, we also have the Mechanic, and he is also again featuring the purple eyes that are glowing, again seeming like a possessed form of the Mechanic. One thing to note is that all of these general minifigures for the returning characters do feature the same torso and legs, with the exception of Pythor, who obviously has a brand new print for his tail, but obviously this was probably done to cut down on the minifigure production costs, but it's still really cool because we get all of these different new face prints and again, a new look for these older villains. Next up, we have a character who is not Mr. E, but is actually known as Mr. F. Now that's actually a really interesting development. I do not know the backstory behind this, because of course Mr. E has been fully destroyed, so this may be a new version of him, maybe someone recreated him, but instead of just being the standard Mr. E, this is now General Mr. F. So he is using the brand new samurai-like helmet mold that fits a visor, which I think is a lot cooler than the motorcycle helmet itself. Just kind of gives it a much more regal appearance, and it's just a really cool figure to get in general because, again, we have no idea what is going on with this. Moving on from him, we have the villain from Season 13, Vangelis, aka the Skull Sorcerer. Now, one thing that I do feel was a missed opportunity with this figure was an opportunity to actually update the Skull Sorcerer mask to actually be more accurate to the show, which featured a mouth and lines going down the cheeks, but unfortunately they just decided to reuse the same exact mold for the Season 13 version, which probably went down to a budgeting thing. At the end of the day, it probably didn't really matter that it was a little different from the show, but you can see Vangelis here all armored up with the Vengestone armor. Next up we have Asphira. She was the villain of Season 11. The Snake Sorceress here has a brand new dual molded head sculpt in gunmetal gray and transparent pink, which is really interesting to see here. She also has the ghost tail or kind of flaming tail like version of the minifigure that we got for the Overlord, so it's just kind of the standard transparent purple and black, which does feel a little out of place. I probably would have preferred a new mold with the transparent pink color, but it is still really cool to get. And lastly, most importantly, we have Harumi, returning somehow as one of the Vengestone-powered villains. She actually has the purple eyes, which you can see here, and yeah, I have no idea what this means for the story. Last we saw of Harumi, she was fully dead. Maybe she survived and has been plotting her revenge, but I have no idea what is going on here. But yeah, there she is, Harumi, making a return in minifigure form for the first time again since 2018. Now, one thing I want to mention before we move away from the minifigures is that we actually are getting brand new molds for the elemental weapons, or the 4 weapons of Spinjitzu. Now, finally, LEGO has taken the effort to mold them in more show-accurate depictions, which I think is really cool, although to be honest, some of them are a little more hit or miss than others. You see, they actually created new molds for each of the weapons, but with a catch. They specifically had to make it such that the molds could also be encased with an accompanying purple crystal mold, because the storyline for the season is the villains stealing the golden weapons and encasing them in crystal, presumably to make them obey the villains. So because of this, despite the fact that the designers did try to model them to be more accurate to the show, they also had to make it such that they could be restricted by these crystalline blades, which means that some of the weapons got a better treatment than others. The Scythe of Quakes is easily the best one. It looks really good, absolutely show accurate, even without the crystalline attachment. It just looks fantastic, so I'm very happy with that. The Nunchucks of Lightning are a little off. I think they definitely could have been improved by just simply having the nunchuck chain element actually attached to the dragon heads themselves, just like they are in the show. Here it's a bit of an in-between because it's a little bit awkward the way that they're attached on the side, but again, this was just done to accommodate them being able to be attached to the crystalline attachment piece, so that does sort of make sense. Zane's shurikens of ice are actually pretty good. I definitely would have appreciated seeing some of the dragon detailing that they have on the show, but maybe that was just too fine of a detail to include while still including the bar attachments for Zane to hold. I also think that these definitely did not really need a new mold. They probably could have just gotten away with using the old one and called it good, but it is nice to get specialized molds for them, and they definitely are a little closer to the show. But the worst offender here is honestly Kai's Sword of Fire. So we already had the perfect mold for the Sword of Fire, which is still being used in Ninjago sets today, but they had to make a new one to be able to encase it in crystals, so they came up with this. What exactly am I looking at here? I don't really know what this is supposed to be. It looks very awkward and honestly just looks like a completely different weapon. It's not bad, it just doesn't really feel like the Sword of Fire. And honestly, I probably would have just used the standard mold and made some other way to encase it in crystal, because this is not really doing it for me. But with that, we have summed up all the minifigures. We've taken a lot of time to do so, and now it's probably time to go straight into the sets, because there are a lot of fascinating sets here. So again, we're going to go smallest to largest, starting off with set number 71768. So this is the smallest and cheapest of the wave of Ninjago sets. The official prices are not out yet, but I'd expect this to be around 15 to 20 US dollars. It includes the exclusive minifigure of Jane's golden dragon armor, as well as just one of the simple Vengestone warriors. Now, this is actually a pretty fun bike build. I really like the great piece integration of the core type of dragon head. You can see it dual molded in pearl gold and transparent yellow on the front of the vehicle. It actually does look like it has some sort of a chomping function, action, so it's almost like a dragon come to life as a motorcycle, which is a really weird concept, but one that I think does quite work well for the bike. Another thing you may notice is Ninjago is introducing a brand new slope piece. It is using a similar type of style as the old Power Miners rock slope, but instead it's kind of more of a dragon armor type of scale element on the side of the bike. This piece is used a ton in the different Ninjago sets, so it does make sense to introduce it for this wave, and I'm sure that future Ninjago sets will have this piece as well. One thing I find kind of interesting is that the Vengestone Warrior is accompanied by some sort of evil little mini robot drone. It's the first kind of sign of technology that we've seen amongst these very traditional warrior type creatures, so I just think that's kind of an interesting thing to have, but other than that, the bike is pretty standard, looks like it'll roll very well with the very nice style of wheel that they introduced in the Spike Prime sets, but I think in general, it's just a fun piece to have. Another kind of interesting thing that you'll notice here is that in the lifestyle photos, they actually showcase that the set comes with all of the other golden weapons. Now, what I imagine is that this is actually a brand new weapons pack, including 2 different versions of the new Nia Samurai X helmet mold, the Shurikens of Ice, 2 Scythes of Quakes, as well as 2 Sword of Fires, and the 2 hilts for the nunchucks, which means that this is really fantastic. Every single set that features any golden weapons whatsoever includes them all, which I think is a fantastic way to actually get kids to be able to own all the different weapons should they choose and not actually have to buy every single set to get them, so really not really even a collectability aspect because every single set, including the smallest one, has every single piece you'll need, which I just really appreciate, and I think that it's great that LEGO is doing that. Other than that though, there really isn't anything much else to say about the set. Honestly, it's just a very basic Ninjago motorcycle build with just a few extra add-ons to spruce it up. So with that, it's time to move on to the next set. Coming in next, we have 71769 Cole's Dragon Cruiser. Now, all of the ninja vehicles seem to have some sort of an anthropomorphic dragon motif to them, but some are more obvious than others. Jay's bike literally had a dragon head at the front, and this one has sort of like a dragon eye shaping near the front of the vehicle, but it's very hard to make out, and it's very easy just to see that this is just kind of another standard Cole vehicle. Now, the minifigure selection of this set is pretty good. It includes the brand new villain form of a Sphera, as well as the new golden dragon armor version of Kai, which is exclusive to this set, as well as the golden version of Cole plus one of the Vengestone Warriors. One thing I really like about the set is that it introduces the color orange and transparent orange as Cole's secondary color scheme. They've played around with it a few times before, but this is one of the only vehicles where they've made it very, very prominent for Cole's color scheme, and I think that it just works very well. And another thing that I really like about this set is that Bionicle fans will be rejoicing because they have reintroduced the Borak eyepiece in pearl gold. Originally only appearing in 2 sets, one of which being the very rare Titan Brutaka set, this piece's price has skyrocketed on Bricklink and is one of the most expensive colors for a very, very useful part. But this set includes 4 of them, which is absolutely fantastic. In fact, other sets of the wave also include it, so it's really nice that they just brought it back in this color, which honestly has not been seen since 2006, so it's a massive year gap between when it first came out versus when it's coming out now. I only wish that the LEGO Bricks and Pieces service was still open because that would have meant we would have been able to buy multiple copies of them for incredibly cheap. Unfortunately, LEGO shut down Bricks and Pieces and replaced it with Pick Brick, which no longer features any new pieces. Hopefully next year they'll be uploaded, but I really do wish that LEGO will make this piece more available for the people who want it. The set introduces another one of the brand new pieces for this wave. It is a massive blade piece wherein this set has been dual molded in a nice blend of pearl gold as well as transparent orange. Each of the ninja vehicles kind of get it in a certain blend, so you may notice in some of the future vehicles like Zane's you get the same blade piece but with transparent blue, which I think is a really cool thing to include that makes it a little bit more interesting rather than just having the standard pearl gold. The set itself has a bit of a quote-unquote transformation or attack feature, but it's super simple. It just looks like the blades simply flip down from being faced in the back position to the front just to kind of be in attack mode, which is just a very simple thing to have. Seems a little bit over-engineered if you ask me, but I'll have to see it in action before judging it too harshly. Again, you can see the building photos showcase that it includes all of the different golden weapon pieces, which means it's a brand new weapons pack, which is really great to see. This is honestly a pretty solid vehicle for Cole. Cole has not gotten a vehicle to himself in a long time, so I'm very happy to see this, but with that, we can now move on to the next set. Coming in next is set number 71770. This is Zane's Golden Dragon Jet. To me, this feels very reminiscent of many other jets we've gotten for Ninjago in the past, starting off with stuff like Jay's Stormfighter and then the Kai Fighter from Rebooted, and even the Legacy Kai Fighter and the Legacy Stormfighter. We've gotten basically 4 different jets in this very similar style before, but I think it does introduce some more interesting things such as the bent canopy, which was also featured in the Legacy Kai Fighter, as well as the wing transformation feature, which was included in the Legacy and normal version of the Jay's Stormfighter. So in essence, this is kind of the best of both. I also really appreciate the recolor of the Ninjago Classic Spinner Crown from 2012 in the blue color there. We have not gotten a recolor of that in a long time, and it's really cool to see such an old piece still being used in Ninjago. Now this also introduces the dragon motif for the front of the vehicle. You'll notice that it's using the dual molded gold and transparent blue dragon head sculpt. So again, we're really going along with the theming of these being somewhat anthropomorphic dragon-like combos of vehicles. The set includes the exclusive version of the Skull Sorcerer, plus the new Dragon Cole, as well as the Golden Zane. So 2 out of 3 minifigures are exclusive to the set, although I do wish that they included at least one more minifigure to add in the set itself, because it definitely is lacking in that department, I feel, especially compared to the fantastic minifigure assortment some of the other, even smaller sets have gotten. The set itself also has a transformation feature, which it appears that almost every single vehicle in this wave does have. It's actually featuring a slightly more complex transformation feature where the wings actually are mounted on specific hinges which allow them to bend backwards and cause the blades to extend. I would really love to see this in action because it's a little difficult to see exactly how this all fits together, but I think it's really cool that LEGO is actually introducing new transformation features in all of these different sets. But with that, we can now move on to our next set, set number 71772, the Crystal King. So this is the large, almost centaur-like build for the main villain of the series. It is really interesting, and I love how unique it is. It's not just a standard Ninjago mech, but it's actually more like a centaur or Oni-like creature. In fact, this strongly resembles the Oni paintings that we saw in Season 8 Sons of Garmadon, which I think is a really cool visual parallel if that was intentional. He wields a massive staff as well as brand new pieces for the Ninjago CRYSTALIZED theme, which are the transparent pink crystal blade elements, and I also really like the golden ribcage, which is reminiscent of some of the other vehicles that the Overlord has gotten. The set includes multiple different minifigures such as 2 different Vengestone warriors, a 2-armed version of the Crystal King to be seated inside the chest of this larger build of him, the exclusive golden armor version of Lloyd, which is only seen in this set, as well as Harumi in her Vengestone outfit. Now this is a set I cannot wait to have on hand. It looks really exciting in terms of the amount of details and play features included. I'm just a really big fan of the way the set all comes together, and I think that this is one of the most exciting sets of the wave. But honestly, I really just have to wait to share my final thoughts when I actually have the set in hand. And with that, we can now move on to the next set, 71773, Kai's Golden Dragon Raider. Featuring a whopping 7 minifigures, it includes 3 of the different unique Vengestone Guard, Mr. F, Skylar, Kai in his golden armor, and Zane in the exclusive winged suit. So this vehicle is probably one of the coolest and most unique ninja vehicles we have gotten in a while. Not only does it have a very interesting and unique form factor with these splayed out wheels, but it does also seem to have a completely different transformation feature, whereas one side of the box features the back of it being the front, and the other side features it being driven on the other side. So I have no idea what is going on here. It is a wacky vehicle with all sorts of different angles being used for the wheels here, and a transformation feature also including the blades being flipped from the forward to the back. Not really sure exactly what's going on other than this looks absolutely fantastic and is honestly almost like a movie quality or even a Monkey Kid quality set in the way that it's built and designed. Really just feels like a deluxe Ninjago vehicle. I also love seeing Skylar back again, as mentioned at the beginning of this video with the minifigures, and all in all, this is probably one of my favorite sets of the wave. Moving onwards, we can now take a look at one of the largest sets. This is set number 71774, Lloyd's Golden Ultra Dragon. And this is the most deluxe Golden Dragon we have ever gotten. Somewhat reminiscent of the four-headed Ultra Dragon that we have gotten in years past, this is an absolutely massive dragon featuring an insane minifigure selection of the Crystal King, 3 different minions, all 4 original ninja in their golden suits, plus the Oni version of Lloyd. This set is one of my most hyped sets of the year. Again, you can see that it features the blade piece just in the standard pearl gold as well, plus a very menacing throne for both the Crystal King but also for Lloyd, which is very interesting to see in the set images. And all in all, this just feels like a massive upgraded golden version of the Lloyd Legendary Dragon that we actually got earlier this year, just in this absolutely fantastic, stunning pearl gold color. I've seen some people online complain that the gold is a little too much and it's a little bit too loud, but hey, if Ninjago's gonna go out with a bang with this golden massive dragon, I say go for it. Just put all of the gold pieces in this dragon. But with that, we can now move on to the next set, and this is again one of the most interesting sets of the wave. This is set number 71771, the Crystal King Temple. Now this does appear to be the floating temple showcased in the back of the box art for some of the other sets here. It actually features a tensegrity structure for the cage there in Lego form for the first time, which is going to be a really interesting build, and also features exclusive minifigures of the 4 ninja in their standard outfits, plus the Crystal King, as well as one of the Vengestone warriors. This is one of the most interesting location-based villain-centric sets we've gotten for Ninjago in recent history, and it also introduces some really interesting transparent pink Technic beams, which I'm sure will be very interesting to see incorporated in different builds here and there. I really love the aesthetic of the set being a floating temple and the rocks really feeling like they're floating or hovering in midair, which I think is just such a cool aesthetic for the villain layer and one that I am excited to get my hands on. And finally, there is one last set to round up this wave, which is one of the largest Ninjago waves we have gotten in ages, set number 71775, Nia's Samurai X Mech. Now this was actually shown off in the trailer for the Ninjago Crystalized season, although we did not see who was piloting it. It's kind of reminiscent of the Ultra Combo Mech, at least in terms of how the armor pieces are angled on the torso, but it's featuring all new different armor for the black legs, and a really great color scheme as well, featuring the red X on the chest, but the azure color scheme for the upper limbs and the black color scheme for the lower limbs. It also features some sort of a Vengestone creature or demon-like dragon, and what's most interesting to me here is the box art for this set, featuring some sort of a battle between the citizens of Ninjago City, as well as what appear to be corrupted Vengestone versions of the citizens themselves, as well as a lot of the Oni demons and dragon warriors that you can see on the side of the villains there. Now this is such a unique set, and I cannot wait to see this in action in the TV show. It is the largest Lego mech ever made at $140 US, a pretty shockingly high value, but it definitely looks like it deserves it. And yes, this set does have knees, featuring 3 massive ball joints for the knees there. Featuring a total count of 8 minifigures, 6 of which are exclusive. The Mechanic, Pythor, Garmadon, Little Nelson, Wu, and Nia are all exclusive to the set, but it also features the golden version of Jay, which of course makes sense to feature alongside Nia, as well as just one of these simple Vengestone warriors. This is truly one of the most impressive mech sets Ninjago has ever done, and it makes total sense this would be the largest set of the wave. Oh, and there is one more set as well. It's not actually within the crystallized theme. Oh, and somewhat surprisingly, there's one other set as well, set number 71759, the Ninja Dragon Temple. This has nothing to do with the crystallized wave, instead it actually is part of the core wave that released earlier this year, featuring minifigures that we have seen in the sets before, just Nia, Kai, and 2 of the Serpentine Warriors. The dragon there is kind of odd looking. It's, again, the 4+ style of dragon, but it seems to be a Nia-like dragon, but for whatever reason is blended with the azure and red. Kind of an odd color scheme there. I do like the motorcycle for the Serpentine, but yeah, nothing much to say here. Really, the most exciting images that we got are for the crystallized wave.
Alright, and with that we have summed up our coverage of the Ninjago 2022 summer set images. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of these sets? What are your favorites? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? And are you excited that many of the old villains are returning? Me personally, I cannot wait to watch the new Ninjago season. It's shaping up to be an epic conclusion to this era, and I cannot wait to see what Ninjago has in store for us for next year as well, because next year is pretty much confirmed to be a soft reboot of the show and setline. Whether this means they'll be changing animation styles, or changing the episode format, or centering around even a new group of characters, we really don't know, so I'm so excited to see what Ninjago has in store for us in the future, and I can't wait to experience it with all of you. Thanks so much for tuning into Duckbrick. Subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye-bye for now.